In this video, I'm going to talk to you about data types and variables as well as strings. You need to get yourself to Chrome and about colon blank and then Control-Shift-J to bring your console up. So programming is all about manipulating data. But what is data? Data is information that we store in our computer programs. Your name is a piece of data, your age, your address, the names of your family members, your birth date, and when you go to school. Those are all pieces of data. In JavaScript, we deal with three basic data types: numbers, strings, and booleans. Numbers are used for, well, representing numbers, obviously. Your age is an example of something that can be represented as a number. So could your birth date. Strings are used to represent text. Your name or your address could be represented as a string. Strings look like this. That's a string. Boolean values can be true or false. An example of something that could be represented by a Boolean value would be if you wear glasses or not. Booleans look like this. JavaScript lets you perform basic math operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We use the operators plus, minus, the forward slash for division, and the asterisk for multiplication. We can do calculations just like we're using a calculator. So it would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 semicolon and would give me the answer. You can use multiple of one sign or a mixture of a few. It really doesn't matter. Just like in a calculator, I could say 22 plus 57 minus 36, get 43. I could do a multiplication. Notice how I'm putting that semicolon at the end each time. So just like when you're writing a sentence, we end it with a period. When you're writing a line of code, you're going to end it with a semicolon. When we combine operators, the calculations can get a bit tricky. So JavaScript performs the calculations in the order of operations. So multiplication, division, addition, and then subtraction. So just as in math problems, you'll want to use parentheses if you want to change the order of operations. So if I put in the following code, 456 minus 342 times 25 plus 245 divided by 2, it's going to give me negative 7,971.5 because JavaScript is first going to do the multiplication, so 342 times 25. Then it's going to divide that by 2, and then it's going to add the 245 and finally subtract the 342. If I want to, for example, subtract first, then multiply, then add, and then divide, I would need to write the code something like this. 456 minus 342. I want to do that first. And then I want to multiply by 25 and add 245. And then I want to divide by 2. And then I'll get the answer of 1,547.5. I'd like you to try this problem on your own right now. So let's say your friend is trying to use JavaScript to figure out how many balloons to buy for a party that she's throwing. She wants everyone at the party to have 2 balloons to blow up. There were originally only 15 people coming to the party, but then she invited 9 more. So she needs to figure out how many balloons. She first types in 15 plus 9 and then times 2 to find out how many balloons. And she gets 33, but the number just doesn't look right. So what do you need to do to make this problem work? How would you add parentheses to make sure it does the addition first? How many balloons do you really need? Well, if I needed to do the addition first, I would say 15 plus 9 because I need to know the total number of people first. Then I would multiply by the 2 balloons per person. And I would see that I actually needed 48 balloons. Let's talk about variables. So JavaScript lets you give names to a value, and that's what a variable is. You can think of it as kind of like a box that you want to put one thing in. So if you want to put something else in that box, the first thing that you had in there goes away. To create a variable, we use the keyword var, V-A-R, followed by the name of the variable. A keyword is a word that has special meaning in JavaScript. In this case, when we type var, JavaScript knows that we're going to then enter the name of a new variable. For example, here's how to make a new variable called teacher. I would say var teacher. And when I press enter, it spits out a response of undefined, but it's not an error. It's just what JavaScript does whenever a command doesn't return a value. Well, what is a return value? So before, when we typed in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the console gave us a return value of 24690. JavaScript, when we create a variable, doesn't spit out any kind of return value, so it just gives us an undefined to tell us that there is no value for it to give back. To give a variable a value, we use the equal sign. So, for example, if I wanted to say variable age and set it to 12, or we'll do 13, this is called assigning a variable a value. Again, when I press enter, undefined is printed because we're creating another new variable. In the rest of this, you won't see that undefined because we're not creating anything new. If I type in age right now and the semicolon, it's going to give me the return value of 13 because I assigned 13 as the value to the variable age. Variables can change. That's why they're called variables. All you have to do is use the equal sign to give them a new value. So if I want to change the value of age to 14, I would say age equals 14. Notice I didn't use the var keyword here because I wasn't creating a new variable. I was just assigning a value to a variable that already existed. So let's look at a little bit more work with variables. So let's say we have a variable number of siblings, and you have 1 plus 3, and variable number of candies equals 8. So I have 1 plus 3 siblings and 8 candies. I want to know how many candies I can give to each of the siblings. So I will say number of candies divided by number of siblings. And I'm getting 2 because it would be adding up the 1 to 3, so siblings is 4, and candies equals 8. The math it would be doing would be 8 divided by 4, which gives us an answer of 2. So we need to be careful when we name variables. It's really easy to misspell them and to get capitalization wrong. And if you do that, the interpreter isn't going to know what you're talking about. Another tricky thing about variables in JavaScript is that they cannot contain any spaces. So they can be really hard to read. One of the ways to get around the no spaces rule is to use what's called Camel Case, which is what I did here. It's where we start the variable name, the first word of it, with a lowercase letter, and then each first letter of the next word starts with a capital letter. So it looks kind of like a camel's humps, up and down, up and down. So we can create new variables by doing some math on older ones. For example, if we want to find out how many seconds there are in a year and how many seconds old you are, we're going to start by finding out how many number of seconds there are in an hour. So for this example, we're going to create two new variables. One is going to be called seconds in a minute. And there are 60 seconds in a minute. And then I'm going to make another variable that is minutes in an hour. And there are 60 of those as well. And then I'm going to say variable seconds in an hour equals seconds in a minute times minutes in an hour. Now if I print out how many seconds are in an hour, because I just did the math on that when I assigned this variable, it should tell me that there are 3,600. When I said this seconds in an hour right here, it was kind of like saying, hey, I need to know what that number is right now, so spit it out. And there it spits it out on the line. So